Hello, my name is Simon Strange with Sunstone Games. We're the creators of Kaiju Combat, and today I want to show you the first and what I hope will be a long series of videos showing you our in-progress characters. Today we're going to be focusing on Komododon, but mostly we're going to be just showing you how this tool works that we use to build these characters. So this here is the character editor, or CharEd. It is the flagship tool of the Spigot engine, which we are licensing from Pipeworks. I used to work at Pipeworks back in the last decade, where I helped design the 3 Godzilla fighting games published by Atari. So let's make a new character here. New character. We're going to select the proper directory here, XCFs, and we're going to call this Komododon test. The 2 basic files we need are a skeleton, which is going to be in the base folder, a skeleton there, and a shape. The shape is also known as a mesh, sometimes known as a skin. So we say OK, and now we've created a basic character. And there he is. Ooh, he's just lying on the ground. This is the basic pose that he has been animated in. Looks like his face up prone. Anyway, that's not very interesting, so let's see if we can do something a little better with it. We go into sequences here, which is our list of animations represented by leaves, and here we're just pointing at the skeleton file, but we're going to point it at melee idle instead and set the length. And now we're going to rebuild the character, and look, in all of his animating glory. Woohoo! You can see his toe tapping, his feet moving. You can see I can move around as he's animating here. It's very useful. These little axes down here show his root. They kind of blend with the ground some, but as you move I can see the red, blue, and green lines that help me orient the character in space. So we have an animation. We have a character. That's great. But we can do even better. Let's add a new animation. Let's call this walk. Perhaps tipping my hand here a bit. Before we can do anything with that walk, we're going to have to create a new action, which I'll also call walk, and walk will point at the walk animation. Notice that I was able to talk about this animation even though there's actually no animation file specified yet. So one of the advantages of our system here. Movement, walk, animation there. So now to use these, we need what we call a transition. So here in the idle action, we're going to have a transition to walk. It's going to use a control, and that control is going to use an input, which in this case is going to be joystick value greater than 0. And we are going to make a similar transition in walk that goes back to idle. That's going to happen with a control, and the control again uses the joystick being equal to 0. Great. We will save that and play. And we have him walk, but then he just stops there and he slides back. That's obviously not exactly what we wanted, because we haven't set up the walk to be the way we should be. First of all, hit this default length. That means the walk is now, we realize now it's supposed to be 80 frames and not just 60 frames. We're also going to extract translation, which allows it to move in space instead of snapping back to his origin after he plays it. We're also going to turn on user turning, which allows us the orientation of the animation to change depending on the way I'm pressing the joystick. Most importantly, we're going to change it to a looping animation. That means that as long as we stay in this walk action, it's going to just keep playing the walk animation in a looping state. Great. So now let's take away our character, rebuild it, and ta-da! Oh, that's what we wanted. I will point out, or my art directors will be very upset, I'll point out that we are currently having a little bit of a problem with his tail. The tail is normally handled by a procedural tail animator that is not hooked up right now. We'll see an error message about that later on. But yeah, so please ignore the funky tailness going on. Okay, so that's pretty great. But watch this. Here we have the character, and notice that his left foot is slightly in front of his right foot. So that's great. We take a couple of steps, and we stop, and his feet kind of stay in the right place. But if we take just a half a step, oh, we step once, and his feet do this little slide back to their position, which does not look very good. So we're going to fix this with a sweet bit of technology we call the mirror table. Going to go here and auto build this, which makes it almost right, except this bone comes out wrong. You can see that this is a list of all the bone names in the character. You see they all have an L or an R, right? So they're all carefully named so that we know which ones are supposed to switch back and forth with each other. So every piece of animation that's supposed to play on the left upper arm will now play on the right upper arm, and so forth. Then we have a bunch of bones that run up and down the center of the character that will not be mirrored, so they don't have the L and R designation. Now that I have a mirror table, I can do this. I'm going to get rid of the character. I'm going to preview this animation. So this is not the live character now, this is just a character preview. I can actually have the character preview and the live character up at once, but that's confusing. So I'm going to watch this animation and see the moment when his foot crosses in front of his other foot. Right about there, let's say frame 26. So on the event track, we're going to add a mirror event. It's going to play across the full body, and it's going to play on frame 26. Okay? But we need another one because at some point the left foot is going to come back in front of the right foot again. Let's say 66. Okay, so we're going to have another mirroring event on frame 66. Again, playing across the entire body. Okay. So these events now happen whenever we're playing this animation. So now, if I take a half step, he keeps the proper foot forward. We're actually playing everything backwards now. But you can't really tell because the characters are built symmetrically. Awesome. Let's do one more thing. Let's add an attack, because we can walk around, but that's not very exciting. We have to add a new action as well that we'll call attack. And we're going to point it at the attack animation. Now, we could go into idle and walk and create transitions that will allow us to play this attack animation, but let's do something fancy. Let's use a global transition. Let's call this attack transition. Okay? And here we will actually create this attack transition. There we go. It happens. This is not a state base, this will be an event base because it happens on a moment. And let's use the square button. The names in this list right now are set up for PS2 control names, X, circle, square, triangle. I'm actually controlling this with an Xbox controller. Both PlayStation and Xbox controllers can just be plugged in if you have a wired controller into a USB port in your PC. Controls the game great, controls the tools great. That's how we develop these games. So square button equal to 1 means I want to play my attack. So that's my attack transition. Now we're going to make a state here, which I'm going to call can attack. And when this state turns on, a state is like a something that is true or false, right? And so it happens different times. So when this state is true, we're going to activate that transition, allowing us to attack. And when this state is false, we're going to deactivate that. So we want that to be true. I can attack when I'm in this idle animation. So can attack is added. I also want to be able to attack while I'm walking. That seems reasonable. So I'm going to say can attack is added. But when I'm actually attacking, I don't want to be able to attack. So I'm going to say can attack request release. So that means it turns off this attacking state when I'm actually attacking. Okay? So now, without an explicit link, oops. I didn't select an animation for our attack. Silly me. Attack. Let's use quick up. That's good. And let's just click this X and Y because I know I want to be able to move in space. There we go. Much better. So now, if I press the blue X button on my Xbox controller, which would be the square button on the PlayStation controller, wah! Big anti-air move. Notice, now we're just stuck here. That's no good. The reason we got stuck is because this attack animation has no transition, so after it plays, it doesn't know what to do. So we need to add a transition back to idle. We don't need a control for it, though. We just say, on the last frame, go back. So now, play the attack animation, and it goes back to idle. Fantastic. If you want, we can do a really slow blend, so that after it blends back, it's a really smooth blend. We can also do a really fast blend on that, so that when we go back, it kind of pops right back to his idle. Anyway, so you can see now that while I'm walking, I can press the button to attack. Now notice here, I'm looping around that way, but now I'm looping around the other way. That's because we've just mirrored, right? So depending on which foot is forward, we'll attack either that way or that way. When we mirror, all of our animations, remember, are going to be flipped around the character, which means the character has a lot more life to it. Things don't always look exactly the same. It's kind of a cool side effect there. That's my basic overview of this tool. Let's just, for fun though, go ahead and close this, and let's look at the real Komododon. The real Komododon has a lot more animations. As you can see, they're all in little folders, and there's fancier things. Instead of just basic animations, we have blended animation trees and so forth. But the ideas are all the same. I'll show you that we have this basic attacks, which has lots of different attacks in it instead of just one. This character is going to take a moment to build now, and we have this error message I warned you about before. So now we run around. Oh, we don't just walk though, we can also kind of smoothly transition into a run. We can walk just really slowly by pressing the stick down a little bit. We can move faster. We also have all kinds of attacks in. Boom! Yeah! Here's the one we saw before. Oof! Yes. So, I haven't hooked up any of his specific combos and the like. This character is probably about 80% complete. He's the most complete. We have about 7 characters that we can load in the editor right now. We're working on animations for about 3 of them. So, if you haven't already, please go to kaijukombat.com/community and get on our forums. Let us know what you'd like to see next. We have a whole lot of characters and stuff we can show you. If you pre-order the game, you get to be on the design team, which means you get to do lots of feedback votes and let us know exactly how you want the game to turn out. We're shooting for last quarter of 2013 for Kaiju Combat to be coming out onto digital download services near you. Thank you very much. I'm Simon Strange, and I'll see you next time.